of this assimilation. And I think that birthright is an artifact of this assimilation. You know, the, the assimilation is finally happening, and it's sad to see us go, I guess, but that's what's going to happen.
That the velocity of money has been increasing, pretty.
The velocity of money.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to cherry pick like that exact word?
No, I'm asking you.
The rate at which more money is being invested into the industry is that enough?
Yeah, I mean, because they're two sort of different things.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, here's what's very. Let me make a meta point.
I didn't know what you meant.
On the one hand, you demand quantitative data for even the most basic sky is blue stuff. Then on the other hand, you insert your subjective reality into things like for example, the fact that you subjectively don't allow you don't legitimize Sharon Brous, or the fact that you subjectively don't think that certain people are Nazis. You're ignoring the objective reality, which I thought was going to be the focus of the stream. I thought there were at least some basic premises here that were pretty much indisputable. And to the fact that they are disputed, I'd like to hear reasons why, and not simply that it's your subjective experience.
What do you mean? What do you mean, my subjective experience? I'm telling you that I don't accept those premises because you haven't provided evidence or proof of them.
No, I made a specific testable hypothesis. If Jewish identity is going away, then you would expect investment of funds related to Jewish identity to slow or stabilize and not to radically increase. Is that correct or no?
No, absolutely not. No, because as more Jews begin to assimilate, there will be more effort on the part of the previous generation, which is astonishingly well off, to try to prevent the assimilation. We know that's been happening for somewhere around 30 years. That's why the investment has continued to go up. That's why birthright was established. It's only
exactly right.
It's only semi-effective.
Right.
It's not really effective at all.
Well, no, hold on a second. It's not only semi-effective. It was extremely effective in Israel when there was a huge issue back in the 80s about the demographic threat of Arabs outbreeding Israelis, and then a number of Israeli policies that were instituted to increase the birth rate of Jewish women, and it ended up being fantastically successful. In fact, it was something that the administration is most proud of, the fact that now the Jewish birth rate in Israel outstrips that of Arab women. And that was considered a major victory in the demographic threat to the Jewish state that it might have a non-Jewish majority.
Cool.
So they do work. I mean, so what I hear now is you're trying to dismiss the threat. I'm trying to dismiss the threat of explicit Jewish identity by assuring us that it's going to go away soon. And then at the other side of your mouth saying, well, you know what, it's going to continue to be really well funded. And you know what, it actually might work.
There's a reason why it won't work. It's not an either or question, right? So what you did is you presented a false dichotomy, right? The difference in Israel and the United States is that Israel is majority Jewish and there's very bad relations with the Arabs there. So the intermarriage rate is pretty much non-existent, right? In the United States, actually relations between Jews and white Gentiles, as it were, is actually pretty good. And
no, Jews and white people. Jews aren't white. We've established that. Jews come from the Levant. They're at best.
We haven't established that. You're splitting hairs. You're splitting hairs.
No. This is
important. They're considered by the government to be white.
Listen,
they're considered by the government to be white. You're splitting hairs.
David, I'll accept it. Go on.
Listen, the government, it also says people from Yemen and North Africa are, quote, white. That's meaningless. The government also said that Jews, they put Hebrew on their identifications, not white, not European.
Where's that?
Hebrew.
Where's that?
In old documentation. You can actually look on the internet at old Jewish passports and documentation from around the time of Ellis Island or something like that. You'll see Hebrew. It does not say white. The idea of Jews
because they
white
spoke Hebrew or Yiddish.
No, not because they spoke Hebrew, because Hebrew is another ethnonym for Jew. If you don't know that, how can you even call yourself a Jew? The Hebrew people, Hebrews.
Okay, yeah, and Italian is an ethnonym for people from Italy. Irish is an ethnonym for people from Ireland.
Yes,
this is okay.
Hebrews come from the Levant, and Hebrew is an ethnonym for people from the Levant, not Europe.
Oh, okay, but you realize that the Levant was closely linked with European civilization for pretty much
Yeah, you know what?
ages.
And so was North Africa. But are North Africans Europeans? Nope. In fact, they've been having
North
for very long periods of time. And you know what else was close to Europe?
Central Asia.
There are lots of Central Asian peoples that have entered Europe and raided and conquered. Does that mean Central Asians are Europeans now?
Are the Hungarians European? Are the Hungarians European?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you know where they come from?
Europe.
They don't. The Hungarians don't come from Europe.
Are you really going to do this?
Everyone comes from somewhere else at some point.
No. JF, the Magyars invaded Hungary in the year 900.
Yeah, and they left maybe a lot of cultural influence and about very minimal genetic influence. If you look it up, it's at most like 20%, far less than the Levantine influence in Ashkenazi Jews. So don't even go there.
Okay, so then here's my question: the Finns are only culturally, I guess, Yamnaya or only culturally Christian. They are genetically unrelated to the rest of Europeans. So are they white?
Sorry, which population? It cut out.
The Finnish.
No,
people from Finland.
Actually, if you want a nuanced and in-depth analysis by someone who actually knows what they're talking about, Survive the Jive does a great video on this, and you can look at it. Are Finns European? And he concludes by saying, like yes, while they do have a lot of Y DNA from Uralic populations, overall genetically they're pretty much Europeans. They're pretty much an indigenous European population.
That's not what the studies I've read said.
No, they have some admixture. Yes, they do, but
they don't have some admixture. They're almost entirely
fundamentally okay. They settled in Europe when they didn't settle like in an okay. The point is Finns are an ethnic group that originated within Finland. Finns, as we know it, the ethnicity Finns originated within Finland.
Because they were Northern Asian hunter-gatherers.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's going really far back, dude. All right, cool. But the point
that's not going that far back.
No. Okay.
There was a point I was building. I really wanted to answer on this identity question.
You're literally deconstructing your own identity, you moron. Sorry.
David's point that he was trying to build to was that we don't need to worry about the threat of continued Jewish identity and whatever influence it might exert because of the intermarriage rates and various data related to in the West Jews assimilating. And what I'm trying to fight against is the fact that, just as he mentioned, as those trends continue, organized Jewish influence lobbies will continue to implement more and more draconian measures to try to prevent that from happening. And that is why one of the reasons in 2017, in 2018, we now have Holocaust classes being taught in 5 states in high school. And if you know the way, I mean, I've read a ton of behind the scenes stuff from AIPAC and from JFNA and from the JCRCs. And one of the things they talk about are ways to foster Jewish identity to do exactly what you're talking about, which is to prevent the loss of Jewish identity. And one of the ways they do that is through the Holocaust. And that's one of the reasons that it's a little weird that in 2018, we have a whole semester dedicated to the Holocaust in 5 states in the country, which was not the case 10 years ago. And our country is going to suffer as a result of these attempts to try to consolidate Jewish identity.
Wait, our country is going to suffer in what way?
In the way that we have an event that happened between 1939 and 1949 in a foreign country that is being taught, that is being suddenly taught as its own 6-month semester long course, and that is something that is very novel to American education. There's a lot of stuff to learn in life. A lot of people might make the argument that that's not exactly what we should be doing 70 years after an event, to be turning up the volume on it more and more and more, just so that Jews can have more explicit identity, and so that their political lobby can continue to have the strength that it does.
I think that you've made a jump here in logic again.
Well, tell me about it. How do you respond to it?
The public school teaching of Holocaust classes encourages Jewish identity. How?
for the same reasons that were cited to you earlier with empirical data about how the Holocaust is the most unifying feature of Jewish identity, more so than faith in God.
So then why would they be targeting Florida public schools where there's
Broward? Okay, sure. I mean, for one is there are Jewish students, and there are also non-Jewish students who come to have an acceptance about explicit Jewish identity because it has been normalized in their classrooms. Meanwhile, their own identity has been pathologized. Do you deny?
I don't think that the Holocaust is about Jewish identity at all. I think that
is the single most unifying element of Jewish identity.
It's the single thing that Jews care about most, but that doesn't mean that it legitimizes Jewish identity among non-Jews. This is the jump in logic you're making.
Whoa. I see what you did there. So you're not responding to its effect on Jews. Do you deny that a unifying force among Jews in terms of consolidating Jewish identity?
Yes.
Do you deny that?
But then why would they try to? Why would they try to?
You're going to walk this back in like 5
why
minutes.
Why would they try? Why would they try to put it in place in Florida where there's no Jews at all?
What do you mean there's no Jews at all? Broward County, dude, the Parkland shooting was at a 40% Jewish high school.
Have you been to Boca Raton, dude? Are you kidding me? There are no Jews.
I went there once. There's a lot of
out of your depth.
Yes, old Jews.
Dude,
indeed.
Yeah, old Jews who don't have children that go to school.
Dude, so are you? This is another one of these places where you could just say yes or no, or if you think the question is illegitimate, say why. But is your official position?
I think that the question is illegitimate because it's illogical. So
let me ask you something. Why did the Jewish lobby? Why did the Jewish lobby for it so hard?
Because they
lobby for it if it was ineffective.
What do you mean? Probably because they want to increase support for Israel, and the way that they want to do that is.
You think it had absolutely nothing to do with domestic effects on Jews and Jewish political power?
No, I think that it had everything to do with domestic effects on Israel's case among non-Jews in the United States.
All Israel, nothing about the domestic Jews who actually live here. That's your position.
Because thoughts of this would be the least targeted thing in the entire world.
Okay,
right?
So then how do you explain this? The 2001 article entitled "The Jewish Stake in America's Changing Demographics" was written by Dr. Stephen Steinlight, and one of the things that he writes about is that he is concerned about the growing Hispanic portion of the U.S. demographics because the Jewish community gets away with much of its demands because of Christian guilt about the Holocaust. He says this explicitly.
What are his actual words?
You can look at. You want me to? I'll pull up the exact words. And I've got to tell you this: they're a lot worse than what you probably could imagine. I did a full-length video on this.
Pull up the exact words.
Go ahead. I will pull up the exact words here.
While he pulls the words, I will say here on the show we had a Jew, and just to show how the Holocaust plays in Jewish identity, I was asking him of a difference of behavior he had with respect to what he would allow for Israel and what he would allow for whites having an ethno-state. And he said, Israel, I asked him, why does Israel have a right to an ethno-state and not the whites? And he answered, Israel is there for protecting the Jews from the greatest crime of humanity happening again.
Okay, so I have JF. Would you mind if I just read this real quick because
go for it.
I mean, it really is the coup de grace on this. Okay, so here's the sentence. It says, and this is after talking about the Hispanic demographics. It says that America has largely tolerated this dual loyalty. That is the dual loyalty between being an American and being faithful to the Jewish state of Israel. We get a free pass, I suspect, largely over Christian guilt about the Holocaust. He says that America has largely tolerated this dual loyalty. We get a free pass, I suspect, largely over Christian guilt about the Holocaust, makes it no less a reality. And then he goes on to say that one of the reasons that Jews may lose political power with the growing rise of Hispanic strength is that being Hispanic and being primarily from Mexico, they do not have any affiliation with the Holocaust. They feel no ancestral guilt, and they are not subject to the teachings of Vatican II, the Second Vatican Council in 1965,